Good afternoon, my friends. This is Paul, and this is my best friend Andy, aka engineer4God. I really hope you'll check out his channel, by the way, because did you finish your Paradiso set of Dante videos yet?
No, I haven't worked on them in a while.
But you at least
Because of my
finished
book.
Purgatorio, right?
Yeah, Purgatorio is finished.
Well, yeah, he's doing... Well, I'll let him talk about it on his own channel, but he's doing a set of Dante's Inferno videos, which definitely help add a lot to an otherwise kind of boring book if you don't have a commentary. Anyway, we're here to talk about 3D Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on the 3DS, and Andy will give his perspective on the original Genesis game because he managed to beat that thing. How many hours did it take you to beat? Like, did you have to just stand in front of the screen over and over again, and every time you got a game over, you had to reset from the beginning?
Yep.
Sheesh. Even the 1987 original Legend of Zelda had 3 save files. How is it they couldn't manage one for this one? And it came out in 1992.
Well, I mean, that's how most Sega Genesis games were. Like, I remember with Dynamite Heady, that game was really hard as well. I mean, you had to do the same thing. You had to like know the boss's patterns and get to the end.
Yeah, I guess so.
And I did actually manage to beat that game, by the way. It was really hard.
Yeah,
though.
we might have to. I might have to download that on WiiWare and beat that so I can officially put it on my channel.
Yeah, and the final boss is really, really, really hard. Like 10 times harder than that boss.
Oh boy. So, a little history lesson before we start. Never thought I'd be doing a Sega history lesson on a Nintendo channel. But basically, when Sonic the Hedgehog first came out in 1991, it was when Nintendo and Sega were fierce rivals, like even worse than the Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo rivalry, because Sega was so brutal that they would have things like, Sega can do what Nintendo don't. And then they'd show a dog drinking water from a toilet and say, this is what it's like to play a Game Boy. You know, stuff like that. So when the Sonic series was introduced, they were basically trying to do a slap in the face to Mario, saying, Mario's a slow, plodding, fat plumber. We're going to have this super fast hedgehog that's so quick that the screen can't even keep up with him. So basically, if you think that the game is heavy competition with Mario, well, that's exactly what it's trying to do. Fast, furious, everything's all mechanical instead of happy and go lucky like Mario. And would you say there's any other, like, direct competitions that makes Mario, like, lagging behind in comparison? You have to remember, this game came out 1 year after Super Mario World.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I never really thought too much about it.
Really? Like, the fact that Sonic, like, starts tapping his finger or he starts tapping his foot and wiggles his finger impatiently because he's like, hurry up already, don't just stand still.
As opposed to Mario falling asleep.
Yeah. So, we played the 3DS version just a couple of minutes ago, and while we technically didn't beat it, Andy beat the original, and since they give you an option to play original game mode, I'm just going to count that. So, one of the things I really liked about the 3DS version was the fact that it allowed you to switch the stages, like, anytime you wanted. So if you wanted to, you could just get straight to the final level, which you ended up doing, and then you beat it. So, they gave you no rings. Like, how the heck did you have enough patience to get all the way to the end, die, and then have to beat the whole game again in the original Genesis version?
You just do if you want to find out, like, if you want to get through the game, that's what you do.
So, would you say that you enjoyed the option for a stage select for people that aren't like me that don't have that kind of patience?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's the gaming, like, has the idea of, like, how a game is supposed to be has kind of changed over the years, because, I mean, I guess it used to just be where, yeah, I mean, you just, instead of having a save feature, the saving feature instead is that you have to be good.
Yeah.
And you have to remember what you did wrong last time so you can improve for the next time.
So, do you want to briefly tell the audience what type of game this is?
What do you mean by what type of game this is?
Like, well, we obviously know that it's a platformer, but how does Sonic differentiate himself from Mario as far as how he controls?
Well, I mean, Sonic's controls are really easy. Like, in the Sega Genesis version, A, B, and C are all jump.
And then you just go left and right?
And you just go left and right. And then you hold down and whatever button to rev. And that's
You want to explain to the audience what revving is? Because I'm sure they call it something different now.
Well, I don't know what they have or have not called it, but but you can just like speed up and then you go really fast.
They call it the spin dash nowadays, where Sonic basically charges up his energy, then zooms across the screen. Now, this game is really, really fast. Like, have you ever found yourself not being able to keep up with how quick the game is?
Sometimes, but I think the newer Sonic games make him go faster than what I'm
Yeah,
used to.
but I think they make him go so fast that the screen blurs. But when this
Yeah.
game came out, they thought the original Sonic the Hedgehog was too slow. So they put blast processing technology into Sonic 2 so that it could be even faster. Would you say that that was
You
a
know,
yay or a nay for
I
the
never
game?
even noticed that, to be honest. Like I played the first game, and I think the only difference that I saw was that Sonic can't rev in Sonic 1.
Yeah, they fixed it in the Game Boy Advance remake, though. And presumably in the 3DS remake, but I didn't get that. So one thing I like about the Sonic the Hedgehog games is that they're very momentum based. Like, you often have to be moving really fast. You have to be aware of, like, how to stop and how fast Sonic is going to be able to make it up a ledge. Because unlike Mario games, there's a lot of slopes and loop-de-loops and stuff like that. So a lot of times Sonic's entire body can become a weapon. Like when you jump, he curls up into a ball, and then because he's a hedgehog, he's got spikes on the bottom so he can, like, pounce on the enemies. And unlike most games, the game actually encourages you to go out of your way to defeat the enemies because Dr. Robotnik, the villain, has turned all of the animals of the area into robots. And so whenever you defeat the robots, the animal gets released. So each level in the Sonic the Hedgehog world has two, in the case of Metropolis, three acts. Instead of just providing one long level, they sort of break up into chunks, which is especially helpful in the 3DS version, because not only can you use any level you want, but you can also choose any act you want. So did you see a point to having act, or did you just find it kind of like, eh?
It's a Sonic thing. I mean, it's not a Sonic game unless it has acts.
I guess so. So before we get into the biggie, which I think both of us can actually agree on, because we have differing opinions on this game, we have to talk about the special stages, which are, in my opinion, the best usage of fake 3D that I've ever seen. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Do you want to describe to the audience what makes the special stages great?
Well, in Sonic 2, the special stage is that you're running down this long tube with a glass top and colored bottom, and the tube kind of dips and turns, and it makes it look like it's 3D, sort of, except you're always like looking forward.
And you have to collect rings and avoid the spiky thingies, whatever they're called.
Yeah, or bombs. I think they're bombs because they explode.
And we just figured out today that it really helps to have Miles with you because he can collect his own rings to add to the total.
Although the downside is that he can get hit by the bombs as well.
But it doesn't affect your overall total, thankfully.
It does if he's the one who collected the rings.
Oh, I see. So, yeah, if you're wondering why I'm calling Tails Miles, it's because the Japanese team never intended for him to be named Tails. They called him Miles per hour, which is a play on miles per hour. But then the American audience said, well, he has two tails, so let's call him Tails. I don't think Sega of Japan has forgiven them since. And then last but certainly not least, we gotta talk about this game's amazing music. So, this is just the second level of the game, and it's this catchy. You can tell that it tries to convey the same sense of momentum that the Sonic games have, and I'm sure at the time Sega's like, oh ho ho, look what we can do compared to Mario's music.
Yeah, I can definitely say that Sonic games have a better music than Mario games.
Agreed, at least in that era. Like, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure Sonic will never catch up to Super Mario Galaxy, for example.
Yeah, well, I guess that's kind of a different genre of music, though.
So what would you say ultimately is your favorite part of Sonic 2 that sets it apart from the other Sonic games?
Well, I guess it's a good it's a nice transition period where it's it's a fairly long game. Yeah, I mean, it has a lot of levels, and then there's the interesting levels like Metropolis Zone that end up having 3 acts instead of just 2. That was a really hard level, but really fun level. And then of course there's a couple levels that only have 1 act to them. And yeah, I mean it's just a good game that happens to be a transitional period.
And I would say what I really like about Sonic 2 is, again, the sense of speed, how sometimes the camera wouldn't even be able to keep up with me. And in the 3DS version, I like all the different options you can have. Like, you can change what type of 3D effect you want. You can set it so that it's the Japanese version, so that it calls Tails Miles instead. And then they give you the option to, like I said, play the original game if you're a purist like Andy, or he doesn't really like remakes as much as I do. Remember our Majora's Mask debate in our interaction video, for example?
I don't remember.
Anyway, so 3D Sonic the Hedgehog 2, yay, hay, or nay?
Yay.
Or a double yay?
Yeah, because it's a classic.
What do you think makes it a classic?
Well, I mean it's Sonic at his best. It's like one of the classic Sega games. Like I mean the new Sonic games that are 3D I don't really like, but
Agreed. It seems like they went for speed, but then they had clunky controls to sort of make it frustrating.
well, even with the side-scrolling new Sonic games, I guess I never really liked it that much because it was more about doing tricks and about speed than about level design.
Yeah, and Sonic 2 had such an amazing level design because it was so non-linear. Like, you could basically beat the levels however you want, yet it still had the same goal.
Yeah. I mean, and then there's games like Sonic 1. Sonic 1 had some pretty innovative stuff to it, too. And, of course, all the levels in games where there's water are always the challenging ones.
Yeah, I didn't
Like in the
really like
chemical plant,
those.
like in the chemical plant where you have to escape from the rising pink water.
Yeah, but would you say overall that the game is more land than water?
Yeah, mostly on land. Except if you're playing Sonic 1 and you're doing the Labyrinth Zone.
Yeah, but we're reviewing Sonic 2.
Yes.
So, that game doesn't have as much water?
Not as much. I mean, there is the aquatic ruins.
Oh dear. Don't remind me. I would have to say that I don't know if I can praise the game as much as Andy does, because he had enough patience to beat it on the Genesis, but I would still say it's a yay, especially for the 3DS, because of the fact that you can swap out stages. You can see Sonic in his prime, back when like everyone unanimously agreed that he was amazing. Plus, I never thought I'd be saying this, but the game doesn't have an in-game storyline, but that actually works to its advantage, because more recent Sonic games that we've played have had really terrible storylines.
Yeah.
And even worse voice acting. So it's nice to
Yeah.
see like what Sonic used to be, and then be like, oh yeah, we're reliving the glory days. So yeah, I would give it a yay. Do you agree on your double yay that you said before?
Yes.
Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Andy, I hope you have a catchy catchphrase for the audience this time. Maybe make it Sonic related if you can't think of anything.
Think fast.
Cool. Well, in that case, my friends, thank you for watching us do this video, and until the next time, keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye.